One of a couple when it comes to mistakes of progressive overload. And yes, I say a couple because I'm not exactly sure how many of these parts I'm going to put together these little short videos. But the number one mistake I see people get wrong with progressive overload is understanding how to view overload in the first place. So let's ask the question, what is progressive overload? Quick summary. It just simply means you are doing more than before. Your overload on the body is progressively getting greater in order to push adaptation further. If you just did the same thing for eternity, you would eventually stagnate and no longer see greater progress. So progressive overload just basically means we are pushing ourselves harder. However, people make the mistake and think that means pushing yourself harder every single workout. That's not the case. If your body progressively made adaptations and gains every single workout, in about 1 year, you'd become the world's strongest human if you just trained a little bit harder every day. The classic story of Milo carrying the bowl up the mountain or hill every day, and as the young calf, I should say, became a bull, every day Milo had to carry a heavier and heavier calf, and then eventually became the bull into the mountain or the hill. And the idea was that that was his workout, and progressive overload was born because by the end of it he could carry a full male bull up the mountain. And that's the whole idea of it. Well, that's not really how it works, and it probably never ever actually happened. So the idea of progressive overload needs to be looked at through the proper unit of time. Now, there is no exact perfect marker of time, but I'll tell you this much. It's probably not day to day, and it's actually probably not even week to week. Your body takes time to make gains, and the more gains and adaptation you make, the harder it becomes to make more gains and adaptation. So when we think about progressive overload, we need to think about the unit of time and maybe a couple of weeks or even a month or even a training cycle in order to fully appreciate whether or not we are progressively overloading the body. An easy way to think about this is don't think about the unit, the training unit as 1 day, right? Because we know that's not going to make these single leaps and bounds and gains that we wish and hope actually happen. But think about the unit of training as the training cycle. So a lot of times people go on training cycles or programs that might last 3 to 6 weeks. Well, that 3 to 6 week marker, at the end of it, you should have hopefully made some progress. So if you were to restart that cycle again of 3 to 6 weeks of lifting, you would start it at a higher baseline than before. And so your reps might be the same, but the weight will be higher, or the weight will be the same and the reps will be higher. Point is, progressive overload really doesn't work in the sense of looking at it from day to day. And so that is a big common misconception and a big mistake people make when they hear progressive overload, is thinking that it applies to each individual workout, when really that's not the case. It applies to a much larger unit of time, something we like to commonly label as a training cycle, which lasts maybe 3 to 6 weeks, even up to 1 to 2 months. So if you guys like these videos, please let me know. Comment below. What are some common mistakes you see people make regarding progressive overload? I'm going to dive into a couple more areas, but I'd love to hear your thoughts. Feel free to give me a thumbs up, subscribe, and follow along if you guys enjoy these videos. As always, I appreciate you listening, and thank you so much for all the support so far.